Have you ever had one of those mountaintop experiences? Maybe you just finished a huge project, achieved a personal goal, or overcame a significant challenge. You're on top of the world, feeling incredible, but then a strange emptiness sets in. It's like reaching the summit only to find yourself standing in a barren desert as the sun sets, realizing you have nothing left. That feeling of being spent, of having nothing more to give, is exactly where the massive crowd found themselves in Matthew chapter 14. Let's set the scene. A great multitude had followed Jesus to a desolate place. They had just witnessed something amazing. Verse 14 says that when Jesus saw them, he was moved with compassion and healed their sick. Can you imagine the atmosphere, the excitement, the joy, the relief? People who had been suffering for years were suddenly made whole. Families were restored. There was an incredible sense of hope and power in the air. But as the day wore on, a very practical, very human problem emerged. Reality started to set in. Verse 15 tells us, when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a desolate place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food." Now, on the surface, this sounds like a perfectly reasonable and even caring suggestion. The disciples saw a problem: thousands of hungry people, no food, and no nearby restaurants or grocery stores. Their solution was logical. It was based on the way the world works. Let the people go, use their own resources, and take care of their own needs. It's a solution rooted in self-effort, in human ability. It's the principle of go and do. Go to the village, use your money, buy your food. It's a very responsible plan. But then Jesus says something that completely flips their logic upside down. His response reveals a profound spiritual principle that is central to the entire Christian life. He says in verse 16, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." Stop and think about that for a moment. They do not need to go away. The world's way is to send people away to fend for themselves. God's way is to gather them, to keep them close. And then, the shocker, you give them something to eat. The disciples must have been stunned. Us, we should give them something. Look at this crowd. There are 5,000 men. Not even counting the women and children. We don't have the resources for that. This is where we see the stark contrast between two governing principles: the principle of law and the principle of grace. The law, in essence, says, go and do. It places the responsibility on you. It demands that you work, you earn, you strive, you provide for yourself. It's based on your ability, your resources, your strength. The disciples' suggestion was a law-based solution. Send them away, to go and buy. They were operating under the assumption that everyone must meet their own needs through their own efforts. But grace operates on a completely different principle. Grace says, come and receive. It doesn't start with our doing. It starts with God's giving. And then, out of what we have received, we are able to give to others. Jesus wasn't asking the disciples to generate food out of thin air. He was inviting them into a different economy, the economy of heaven, where supply isn't based on our limited resources, but on God's infinite abundance. He was telling them, don't operate by the principle of go and do. Operate by the principle of come and receive, and then give. So, what happens next? The disciples' own poverty is immediately exposed. They respond in verse 17, we have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish. Can you hear the desperation in their voice? That's it. Lord, that's all we've got. 5 little barley loaves and a couple of small fish. It's nothing. It's not even enough for us, let alone this massive crowd. This is such a crucial moment. Before God can use us to supply others, He first has to show us our own bankruptcy. He has to bring us to the end of ourselves, to the end of our own resources, our own plans, and our own good intentions. Grace always humbles us first. It brings us to a place where we have to admit, I can't. I don't have enough. I am not sufficient for this. The disciples' smart, logical plan had to be set aside. Their own meager provisions had to be acknowledged for what they were, completely inadequate. And it was right there, at the point of their total inability, that Jesus was ready to work. It was precisely at the end of their resources that God's superabundant supply was about to be revealed. Jesus says, "Bring them here to me." He takes their little bit, their nothing, and he does something divine with it. Verse 19 says, "And he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples. And the disciples gave to the multitudes." Notice the flow. Jesus takes, he blesses, he breaks, and he gives it back to the disciples. And then, what do the disciples do? They give. They become channels, not sources. They are simply distributing what they have first received from the Lord. They are now operating fully under the principle of grace. This familiar miracle, in just a history lesson about Jesus multiplying bread. It's a living parable about 2 ways to live the Christian life. Are we living under the principle of go and do? Are we constantly striving in our own strength, trying to meet our own spiritual needs and the needs of others through our own efforts, our own wisdom, and our own resources? This leads to burnout, frustration, and that feeling of emptiness we talked about at the beginning. It's the life of a spiritual orphan trying to make it on their own. Or are we learning to live by the principle of come and receive? This is the life of a child of God. It's a life of dependence. We come to the Lord every day, acknowledging our emptiness, our inadequacy. We bring him our 5 loaves and 2 fish, our limited talents, our small faith, our meager love, and we allow him to bless it, break it, and multiply it. We learn to receive his life, his love, his grace, his supply. And as we are filled, we naturally begin to overflow to others. We become conduits of his grace, not just consumers. We don't have to send people away. We can say, "Come, let me share with you what the Lord has given me." The story ends with everyone being completely satisfied. Verse 20 says, "So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained." Under the principle of law, there's never enough. Under the principle of grace, there's not only enough, but there's an abundance left over. 12 baskets full, 1 for each of the disciples, who had started with nothing. God's supply doesn't just meet the need. It exceeds it, proving his riches are truly unsearchable. So, the question for us today is, which principle are we living by? Do our good intentions and smart plans need to be refined by the Lord? Are we willing to be humbled, to be brought to the end of ourselves, so that God's provision can flow through us to a hungry world? Are we trying to live by the law of go and do? Or are we learning to rest in the grace of come and receive? Let's learn to bring our emptiness to him, so we can be filled with his fullness and become a supply to others. If this message has spoken to you and has helped you see the Christian life in a new light, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more content that goes deeper into the truth of God's Word. Thank you for watching. This message was adapted from ministry materials by lsm.org. See you in the next video.